Hey to everyone out there watching, it's JT from Keystone Crew Outdoors. Welcome back to Northeast PA's #1 fantasy fishing show. I hope you all had a better first event than I did. Florida's always been a toss-up for me when it comes to fantasy fishing, so I apologize if you followed my picks. You're probably sitting someplace in the middle like I am. I think I'm mid-40s, low 50s in fantasy fishing, and definitely in the low 50s for Drain the Lake. Those of you who like and subscribe to the channel, thank you for your continued support. If you haven't liked and subscribed, feel free to do so, especially if you do like the advice that I give on here. I promise it'll be better than the first event as we go. At least I hope so. It can't get much worse in my opinion. As always, if you haven't signed up for fantasy fishing yet, you can sign up at bassmasterfantasy.com. After signing up, search the groups tab for Keystone Crew and join up. It's a lot of fun. I know it sounds like a joke to you guys who don't really do this or watch, or friends of mine are always saying, what are you doing with that Bassmaster fantasy fishing nonsense? It's a lot of fun. So join up. There's lots of prizes that you can win, almost $90,000 worth of prizes out there. Anyway, it's a quick turnaround from Lake Okeechobee to Lake Seminole. So here's Keystone Crew's Rapala Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing and Mercury Drain the Lake Challenge pick show for the Elite Series stop at Lake Seminole in Bainbridge, Georgia from February 23rd through the 26th, 2023. If you're a new viewer, I make my gut picks, my research picks, and the Drain the Lake picks. First, here's a quick rundown of how things shook out at the Big O. Here's what a perfect lineup would have looked like. Here's how my gut picks finished. Bucket A, Chris Zaldain finished 52nd. Bucket B, Stetson BLAYLOCK finished 47th. Bucket C, Brian Schmidt finished 64th. Bucket D, Bernie Schultz finished 34th. And Bucket E, Mike Iaconelli finished 41st. Here's how the research picks finished, the ones that you probably should have picked. Bucket A, Chris Johnston finished 43rd. Bucket B, Greg Hackney finished 35th. Bucket C, Brian Schmidt finished 64th. Bucket D, John Cruz finished 33rd. And Bucket E, Wes Logan finished 63rd. Winning weight, we weren't too far off on. Winning weight was 86 pounds, 15 ounces. We had 87 pounds, 10 ounces. That's enough for the first stop. On to the second stop, Lake Seminole. Named after the Seminole Indian tribe, Lake Seminole is a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers reservoir located in the southwest corner of Georgia, along with its border with Florida. 30 miles of the Chattahoochee River and 35 miles of the Flint River join the lake. The lake contains 37,500 acres of water and has 376 miles of shoreline, and the average depth is 10 feet. Last time the elites were there, the winning weight was less than 3 pounds away from hitting the century mark. The grassy shorelines can be very similar to what you saw in Lake Okeechobee. And the river channels should be in play as well. Depth of Seminole means water temperatures can fluctuate. I think the weather's supposed to be gorgeous down there, like in the mid to low 70s for the event. But let's get into the reason why you're all watching, the Keystone Crew's picks. Here's my gut picks. These are the picks that I made right when the buckets were released without any research. For Bucket A, I'm taking Cooper Gallant, owned by 1.2% of the people out there right now. Bucket B, I'm going with Greg Hackney, owned by 17.4%. Bucket C, I'm still going with John Cox. High owned percentage though, 35.3%. Bucket D, I'm taking Bryan New, 17.4% owned. And Bucket E, I'm going with Taku Ito, 3.9% owned. On to the research picks. Here's my actual research-based picks. Once again, I power rank the picks that the bass pundits make, different articles I read, and videos that I watch on the internet. So here's my power rankings. Give the top 4 or 5 guys, and here's my order for Bucket A. I've got Drew Cook, 42.3% owned. Kyle Welcher, 4.6% owned. Patrick Walters, 6.0% owned. Brandon Cobb, 9.3% owned. Tyler Rivette, 2% owned. My pick, though, was Cooper Gallant at that 1.2%, and the Keystone Crew pick is Drew Cook at that 42.3%. Bucket B, my top ranked wrangler I have there is Buddy Gross with 10.3% owned, followed by Brock Mosley, 5.5% owned, Brandon PALANIUK, 25.6% owned, and Greg Hackney with 17.4% owned. And the last angler I have for Bucket B is Cody Huff, 0.7% owned. My pick, though, is Greg Hackney, 17.4%, and the crew's pick, Buddy Gross, 10.3%. On to Bucket C. Luke Palmer is my top-ranked angler there with a low percentage, only 1.9% owned there, followed by David Gaston, 2.1% owned, John Cox, 35.3% owned, Brandon Lester, 17.7% owned, and Stetson BLAYLOCK with 9.4% owned. My pick is John Cox with 35.3%, and the crew's pick is Luke Palmer at that 1.9%. Bucket D. Top angler I have there is Drew Benton with 45% ownership, followed by Bryan New, 17.4% owned, Joe Webster, 0.4% owned, Brian Schmidt, 4.5% owned, and Joseph Douglas with that 0.8% owned. My pick, though, is Bryan New, 17.4%. The crew's pick, Drew Benton, 45% owned. On to Bucket E. I've got top-ranked angler Todd Auten, 2.8% owned, followed by Taku Ito, 18.7%, Jason CHRISTIE, 40.4%, CORY JOHNSTON, 15.2%, and Keith Poche at 13.8%. Be wary on that Poche pick, though, if you do end up going with him, because nobody knows if he's going to be fishing in these tournaments or not this year. He burned a lot of people with his zero because he was fishing in the MLF, and they have rules now that you can't do both. So, anyway, my pick was that Taku Ito, 3.9%, and the crew's pick is that Todd Auten at that 2.8%. Tie-breaking weight, I'm going with 94 pounds, 9 ounces. Quick review here. My gut picks for Bucket A, I have Cooper Gallant. Bucket B, Greg Hackney. Bucket C, John Cox. Bucket D, Bryan New. And Bucket E, Taku Ito. The actual research picks, the ones you should go with. Bucket A, Drew Cook. Bucket B, Buddy Gross. Bucket C, Luke Palmer. Bucket D, Drew Benton. And Bucket E, Todd Auten. Mercury Drain the Lake. A survival style game. You use an angler once, they're gone for the rest of the year, so you have to pick wisely. Our picks for this were a little bit better than our fantasy picks, so hopefully we didn't steer you guys too wrong. There's still lots of season left, obviously, with only being the second event. But I'm going with Keith Combs, Drew Cook, Mark Frazier, Buddy Gross, Ray HANSELMAN, Mark Menendez, Brock Mosley, and Cole Sands. Hope you all enjoyed the show. I hope these picks are better for you than my first set of picks for the season. We were pretty good last year, so stick with us. As always, if you haven't signed up yet, bassmasterfantasy.com. Under the groups tab, search for Keystone Crew and join up today. That's all I got for you. So we'll catch you next time.